What's up, y'all? So this has been a video that y'all have just honestly been asking me for a long time. Everybody asks about how do I get better at weighted pull-ups? How do I get more pull-ups? How do I get good at pull-ups? I happen to know a thing or two about pull-ups. I've done pull-ups with 4 plates. That's 445s. I think my best is actually with 2 reps. So for you guys that are looking to get better at pull-ups, as in just doing more, and then for people that want to get a better weighted pull-up, this is the video for you. If you're reaching me from the algorithm, my name is Bald Omni-Man, aka Coach Butler. I am a strength and conditioning coach. This is going to be the video that you guys are going to use as a resource to get better at weighted pull-ups. It's going to help you pick your exercises and help you avoid the ones that aren't the most productive. So first and foremost, you got to understand muscle emphasis. So I am going to recommend that you go to my playlist. It's going to be called Bodybuilding, the Final Answer. There's going to be a video called How to Build a Massive Back for Bodybuilding. Pick that video, watch it, take notes. It's going to show you how to emphasize different parts of your back. In terms of the exercise that I want you to consider as like your main variation of whatever your main pull-up is, and this is the, for the Yu-Gi-Oh enjoyers, this is the Sword and Shield icon, right? So the reason why I have that there is that when you use Sword and Shield in Yu-Gi-Oh, you switch attack and defense. This is just to signify this is going to be the opposite grip of whatever your main weighted pull-up or chin-up is, right? So if your main pull is a chin-up, this exercise is going to be a pull-up, and then vice versa. So if your main is a chin-up, it's going to be a pull-up. I might have just said that, but it's going to be the opposite, right? The reason for that being is that, let's just explain it this way. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and if your pull-up is 50 pounds less than your chin-up, you have an area of opportunity in your upper back musculature to get stronger, in which case if you increase the strength of your upper back, that's only going to make your chin up that much stronger, and vice versa. So another bread and butter exercise that I want you to focus on is a chest to bar lat pull down. So this has a few different utilities just depending upon what your strength level is. So let's start with the newer guys, right? You're just trying to get more pull-ups. Maybe, you weigh 180 pounds. You're about 6 months in the gym. You can do about 6 pull-ups and you're looking to get 10 or 12. This is going to be the exercise to do because it's very likely that if you're doing pull-ups, they're not with, they might not be with a full lockout, meaning you touch your chest to the bar. That would be considered like a full range of motion. Chin above the bar is fine, but chest to bar is where you recruit so much more of your lats, your upper back, and your biceps. Lat pull down is really cool is because you can take a load that is less than your body weight. So let's just say you put on 130 or 120 pounds. Suddenly you can bang out sets of 12 with this if you weigh 180 pounds through more range of motion and get more complete muscle development. You bring that up to 180 pounds for sets of 10. With this exercise, you're guaranteed to be able to get 10 pull-ups. No questions asked if you're using a good form cadence. So with that comes using a nice eccentric. You're fully locking your elbows at the top and you're fully coming down to your chest. No cheat reps, no momentum. Wherever your torso moves to, that's where it should stay to. Now, for guys that are stronger, this gives you the same benefit. So it allows you to adjust your body angle. You can do that on a pull-up, but it's at the expense of using a little bit more core strength, right? If you want to move your torso angle to emphasize different muscles, like your lats or your upper back, lat pull down is really good for doing that. It's very intuitive. Another thing is that just like a shoulder health thing, right? It lets you move your scapula more freely because you can adjust your torso angle. So it's just a really good S-tier exercise overall. Another S-tier exercise, in my opinion, is a good chest supported row. So that's going to be anything like a seal row with a cambered bar, and that's just like a barbell with a dent in the middle of it. A chest supported row. That could be anything like that was the chest supported T-bar row. The trap bar seal row. Pretty much any seal row where the bar is not like limiting the range of motion, basically. So if you use a straight barbell, it's going to limit the range of motion a bit. That still makes it a good exercise, but this extended range of motion pull that isn't using your lower back at all, it's not using anything but your pulling muscles, is going to be a great exercise to use on top of this. Kind of for a similar reason to the lat pull down, right? So if you can do one pull up, right, and you want to get better at pull-ups and you for whatever reason, don't have a lat pull down, but you have a bench, some plyo boxes, and then a trap bar, because maybe you're in a home gym, this is going to allow you to use maybe like 90 pounds or something like that, and then be able to get those full range of motion benefits. Now, why it's important that you're not using your lower back when you're trying to work your upper back is because your lower back is going to likely fatigue before your upper back. And it's for that reason that we have to talk about a few excellent exercises that do not have good application when getting a stronger weighted pull-up. It's going to be the barbell row, the deadlift, and that's any kind of deadlift, and then a cheat row. These are 3 excellent exercises. Dan Green is one of my favorite lifters, if not my favorite power lifter of all time. He's known for doing barbell rows and cheat rows. They're not good for getting good at weighted pull-ups. The reason being is that you're using all of these other muscles that can fatigue before your upper back and your lats. You're still stimulating them. It's not as if they're not being stimulated, but they're not being stimulated the most for what their cost is. We call this stimulus to fatigue for those that aren't aware of what that means. So what that means is that there is an associated amount of fatigue, tiredness, soreness, just a general feeling of feeling beat up during and after a workout. And with that comes a stimulus. So what does it do for you? It's either generating hypertrophy, which is muscle growth, or it's getting you stronger. These give more than they take in the goal of getting a bigger weighted pull-up. Deadlifts will get you strong at deadlifts. These will get you strong at deadlifts. They're not going to get you strong at pull-ups for the most part. That's not to say that if you don't have anything but these to use, that don't use them. Like, just use them. That's all you have. But if you ever gain the option of using these are all better options. Now, another good one that I want to talk about that I don't think is necessarily on the same level as the S tier options, but is really good, is we're going to go ahead and put the archer pull-up. Now, the archer pull-up is really good, specifically for guys that are more in that middle tier range. So, like, they can do like 10, 12 pull-ups, and they may not have access to a bunch of plates, or maybe they're just looking for a variation to get more out of less weight because they want to do weighted pull-ups on one day and then like another harder pull-up variation on another day maybe. Archer pull-ups are really good because they allow you to do that. You get a minimal assistance from the other arm, and you're overtraining the other side. So you would do archer pull-ups on both sides, I hope. Please don't do them on one side. Do them on both sides to get the most benefit. The reason why I don't put them in S tier is because I do find that they can be a little bit stressful on your elbows when compared to these, 1, and 2, the movement pattern just isn't the most specific, which isn't hugely important because honestly, neither is this. It's really just the elbow fatigue in my opinion, but these look super cool and they're very beneficial. I'm going to put them in A tier. Now, another A tier exercise I would say is the straight arm pull down. So why is this good? Well, it's really good at what it does. And what it does is that it allows you to work your lats in absence of your biceps. And someone might be thinking, oh, well, the biceps and forearms get used on pull-ups. Well, true indeed. Imagine this scenario. So you're doing a ton of this, and you even have this on another day, right? So your elbows and your biceps are at their limit in terms of what you can do. So if you tried to add another exercise like the dumbbell rows, which we'll get to in a second, you may risk overtraining your elbows. That's a thing. So your joints and your tendons and ligaments recover slower than your muscles do. Tendinitis is very common with people that lift weights because most people don't pay attention to things like this. They blame it on exercises, and this is how exercises get vilified. This is how you avoid things like that. So you would fill this in a slot where you're just trying to work your lats because they can get a little bit more work in the week without working your biceps. How I like to cue this is I like to supinate. Supinate, imagine you're scooping soup out of a bowl. You cup your hand, right? I like getting like a straight bar and then putting a slight bend in the arms and then really focus on getting a good stretch at the top and squeeze at the bottom. Why I like the supinated grip is that it just stops you from using your triceps. It just happens subconsciously, even if you don't mean to. It's just to make sure that you're getting the most out of your lats and you're not turning it into a halfway tricep pushdown. So Straight arm pull downs are pretty good. Another pretty good exercise, in my opinion, would be dumbbell rows. So dumbbell rows, they're kind of a tricky pickle, right? So I don't quite put them in the same echelon as the S tier exercises, just because you can get a lot of assistance from just rotating your body, and that's just naturally going to happen, guys. You can try to prevent it on the initial reps, and I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't be super conscious of your form and prevent that to the biggest extent possible, but you're going to do it, right? And when you rotate, you're taking emphasis off of your lat and onto the oblique on the other side of your body. It just is what it is. Now, what it is, though, the benefit of this exercise is that it allows you to do something pretty similar to these chest-supported rows or these seal rows. It allows you to work your lats without your lower back and without your hamstrings and without your glutes, and then all these muscles that don't have anything to do with your upper back and lats and rhomboids and traps, which contribute to weighted pull-up strength. Your biceps, too. Speaking of biceps, another good exercise. This is going to be just a catch-all picture to include your preferred bicep curl of choice, right? So you may have a different perceived weakness with your biceps on pull-ups. It happens. So you may be missing that lockout. Well, you may want a bicep curl that works more of that shortened position. Shortened just means the squeeze. It's like a gigabrain term for squeeze for those that are not versed in the biomechanics. And then lengthened is just the stretch. So if you feel like you're weak out of the bottom for whatever reason and you're convinced that it's not lats, it's your biceps, you might want to work your biceps in a lengthened or, stretched position. So just fill in with your preferred bicep exercise of choice. Now, another good one. So how I like to classify exercises like these is anyone that's ever played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, excellent timeless game. I think it might be like one of the biggest versus game character rosters in history. A lot of the characters were not good, except for the fact that they had a good assist. So like Captain Commando, for example, and I won't nerd out too much for those that aren't familiar. We'll get back to the exercise, but I want to tell a little story. We tell stories around here. But Captain Commando was a garbage character, but his assist was godlike, and he was just on every team specifically for that. This is one of those exercises in this context. So it's going to be a band curl or a band press down. This is what I like to call movement prep, or like the assist exercises, if you want to call it that. You're doing it specifically to prepare your elbows and your muscles for what you're about to do. You're preparing those joints that we just talked about could get fatigued from your training. For training, you're preparing your muscles for the same thing. You're getting blood rushed through your joints, through the muscles. It's just going to get you nice and ready to do what you're about to do. It allows you to do it for dozens, if not honestly like 100 reps without fatiguing anything. Excellent doesn't take any fatigue, any time out of your training program, just included as your regular warm-ups. Another exercise that I could say would be kind of in that same category would be like a face pull of some kind. Now, this is going to be something that you could potentially use as a hypertrophy exercise if you load it heavily enough. But how I like to do it is just like sort of like that assist exercise, a blood flow exercise. So you're working those rotator cuffs, you're working your rear delts, and you're just getting blood pumped through areas that commonly get tweaked or injured. It's just part of your movement prep. It's really good at what it does. It's not the best hypertrophy exercise. I'm not going to lie to you. If I had to put it as a hypertrophy exercise, it'd probably be C tier. But we're not looking at just pure strength carryover, pure hypertrophy. We're talking about the full package. This happens to be beyond God tier at what it does. Now, another exercise that I would say is something that you wouldn't really consider to be a good exercise for getting better at weighted pull-ups, considering that you're taking weight away from it. I'm going to put it in B tier just because I don't think I can put it on the same tier as these. It definitely has its use, which I don't think a lot of people have thought about. But an assisted pull-up, and this can be with bands if you don't have the fancy machine, is going to be really beneficial for getting an extra forearm and bicep work, while also being an exercise that doesn't work your lats as much. Why that's important is because we have to worry about the exercise economy, right? And that may sound like some galaxy brain stuff, but what that refers to is kind of what we alluded to here with the straight arm pull downs. and over here with our movement prep, you have a limited amount of lat exercises that you can do. You may want to fit in more bicep work without doing just another curl, because you may already be doing like 2 curls and you don't have any more room for that, because they're all similar movement patterns, but you still want to get some more pulling volume in, but you don't want to take away from this and this. This is where something like this comes into play. So because you're removing resistance, and that's mostly at the bottom, and as you come up and approach lockout, you're taking away less and less. It's going to make it less fatiguing on your lats and the same amount of fatigue as that body weight pull up at the top. It's just going to be more bicep training. Really good exercise, especially for heavier guys. That's really going to allow you to develop that lockout strength and then develop your lats with other exercises. Now, there's going to be someone in the comments that really just, loves grip training, and, they're the guy that, I don't use straps or belts when I train. My lifts are more real than yours. There's going to be one of you guys in the comments. Please spare me. I have a logical reason for putting fat bar pull-ups in C tier. The reason being is that it's just the reality that most people are not going to fail like a single pull-up or even like a high rep set of pull-ups because of their grip. They're going to fail it because they're not strong enough to pull themselves up. In fact, for a lot of the people that I work with, regular pull-ups are an exercise that I use to train their grip, or weighted pull-ups, or maybe even double overhand rows. Like, I don't see a particular reason in the context of getting a stronger weighted pull-up to use a movement that makes you weaker, because using the fat bar is going to make you weaker, and it's not going to be because it's more challenging for your lats. It's going to be because it's harder to hang on to the bar. It's just not very specific to get moving the most weight possible or getting the most reps possible with body weight, if that's what you were looking to do. It's an excellent grip exercise. So, dude, if I had to rank it for grip, heck yeah, I'd put it in S tier. It's just an even better version of a pull-up when it comes to that. But for getting stronger, pull-ups, not the best. Oh, man. Someone's going to unsubscribe because of this. I missed a bad exercise. And I mentioned deadlifts before it. The CrossFit, butterfly worm pull-up is easily the worst exercise you could do in existence to get better at pull-ups. You're using all kinds of momentum. It's really more of a conditioning exercise than it is a strength or hypertrophy exercise. So it's just not good. If you are offended by that, hey man, it happens. Hope you enjoy your stay on the channel. I just didn't see it. They're so small compared to this dude. I saw him because he's brolic and he's way bigger than her. Let's talk about another middle of the pack exercise when it comes to getting better at weighted pull-ups. I'm going to go ahead and put standing T-bar rows at the bottom of C tier, just because it's kind of in a similar category as this. I may even put it in D tier. I'm going to put it in D tier, actually, and I'm going to put it in between the strict barbell row, like the Penlay style row, and then the cheat row. Reason being is because it has all of the same drawbacks as this, maybe a little bit less because the body angle is a little higher. But, I mean, the range of motion is lower, too, so you could argue that either could kind of be equally as bad for this specific purpose. If we were to compare these two exercises in, a general strength training program, this would be, up here. It would be in the A or B tier, and then this would still be down here because it's just not a good rowing variation. I'm sorry if you like standing non-chest supported T-bar rows, but they're just not good. Chest-supported T-bar rows are excellent. They're up here no matter what, but those not really good at anything. I would say another middle-of-the-pack exercise would be kind of the Kroc row for the same reason, to be quite honest with you. Again, if you like Kroc rows, spare me. This is weighted pull-up and pull-up specific training. This is a grip exercise and a conditioning tool if you're using straps. There are people that can do Kroc rows with 300 pounds. They can't deadlift 400 pounds. You see what I mean? So It's a ton of momentum. You can train to get specifically really good at Kroc Rows and not good at anything else. Another mid-tier exercise. I'm going to go ahead and get the inverted rows. Now, if this was like for me specifically, I hate inverted rows. I don't get anything out of them. I don't feel them. I hate them. But I recognize that this isn't just a me tier list. This is just a general tier list. A lot of people like inverted rows. I feel like they're a good option if you're training in a home gym and you don't have access to any sort of chest supported row, any sort of lat pull down. You don't have access to the straight arm pull down, and you don't have dumbbells, and you don't have an assisted pull up or bands or whatever. But you have a barbell and a rack and a pull up bar. Well, here you go. Here's that horizontal rowing pattern that's not limited by your lower back strength. That's going to allow you to, do kind of what this wants to do, but just way better. I don't like them specifically because I don't feel anything when I do them, but a lot of people love them. You can add weight to them. They're really good for most people. I'm just known as the guy that does seal rows, so this may seem like sacrilege to put them in B tier, but I think it's because the fact that your bench width is just going to vary. So some benches are thicker than others. Some people have longer or shorter arms than others. The range of motion can vary wildly, and then independent of that, let's just say all things are optimized. You're still going to be limited by your bar hitting the bench in terms of your range of motion, which for most people is not going to be, everyone actually is not going to be a terminal range of motion. I might even put it, I can't put it higher than B tier because of that reason. It's more or less exactly like an inverted row, to be honest with you, except for you're not getting the extended range of motion. Now, that's not to say that it's bad. So I did nothing but seal rows and hit an all-time weighted pull-up PR for reps. You know what I'm saying? So you could do something that's like A, B, or even C tier. Not so much C tier, but anything between S and B, you're going to be able to do that and get stronger at weighted pull-ups. Here's one that I kind of, I hear people talk trash about it. I don't understand why. It's kind of, that group of people that, there's this meme, Subpar Powerlifting posted the other day, and it was something like someone who could win gold in their weight class just by participating, telling a 405 bencher that they're not a real powerlifter if they don't compete. It's that type of people that demonize specific motions and movement patterns as being like dangerous or bad for you. It's not necessarily that. It's you can acclimate yourself to most ranges of motion as long as you're not jamming joints on joints or whatever. If you can do a behind the neck press, it stands to reason that you could do the opposite motion as well. I just don't find it particularly valuable because most people, irrespective of their ability to acclimate themselves to pulling behind the neck, they're just not going to be able to really comfortably get a full range of motion with this. And it's not getting any specific benefits versus just doing it in front of you. Let's just say you could pull it to your traps. Well, that's less range of motion than pulling it to your sternum or to your chest. It's just, a lot more goes into being able to do these, whereas these are just plug in and play and they instantaneously give you more benefits. So I love pullovers in general. For getting a good weighted pull-up, I'm not going to say they're useless because getting bigger lats is good. I don't see them as particularly, I'm not going to put them in C tier. Because the reason why is that they're basically like a home gym version of the straight arm pull downs, right? So if you have access to a adjustable dumbbell, this can be your straight arm pull down replacement, right? That's more or less what that could be. It's just they're not as good as all these other things is what I was trying to say. So we got a few more. So the Gironda pull-up. Gironda pull-ups, I'm going to go ahead and put them in B tier. So like if you can do them, great. They look cool. They will work your upper back. They're working your lat through, a different range of motion. Awesome. you can do this with the lat pull down way easier and with way less investment. You know what I'm saying? It's more just like a brownie point thing. Not to say they're bad. If you want to do them as a variation, go ahead. You'll get better at weighted pull-ups, and you'll be able to do more pull-ups. The iliac pull down. For those that are returning subscribers, they know I don't have a problem with the exercise. Again, I have a problem with the people who use the exercise. They always tell you that iliac pull downs are the most effective way to work the iliac division of the blah 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 lower lats. I have a small back. That just rhymed for you guys. It just channeled my inner Chris Jones physiques of greatness. But it's not that it's a bad exercise. It's always honestly like a snake oil salesman that's purporting them, right? So what they do is they work your lats optimally from a biomechanics standpoint. That's just objectively true. My only gripe with them is that you can't really load them very heavily when compared to like a lat pull down with both arms or a weighted pull up or a chest supported row with an extended range of motion. So it's kind of where I'm at with that exercise. If in terms of like how much I meme on it, you would think it's a D tier exercise, but I'm going to put it in the upper echelon of the A tier exercises. Another good one that isn't necessarily bad, it's just like I said, maximum carryover to pull-ups or weighted pull-ups. If you're limiting the number of pull-ups that you can do by your core strength, it's not as bad as a barbell row because your core is more resilient a lot of times in terms of like, form breakdown than, like a barbell row. So like, for example, if your core gets tired doing L-sit pull-ups, all you're going to do is drop your legs and then start doing like regular pull-ups after that. You're just not going to be able to do L-sit pull-ups anymore. So you're going to do the L-sit pull-ups to failure, drop your legs, and then do like 2 or 3 or 4 more regular pull-ups. Whereas if your core and your lower back starts to fatigue here, you're just going to do shittier reps that don't do anything extra for your upper back or lats. One that is super impractical, even if you can do them, is like honestly do one-arm pull-ups. So why I put them so much lower than archer pull-ups is because you're getting all the same elbow fatigue. It's very likely that 99% of you who are watching this can't do a one-arm pull-up anyway. And if you're doing one-arm pull-ups to get stronger at pull-ups, I feel like you're hustling in reverse because there's different exercises you can do to overload your lats, like everything up here, that don't have such a fatigue cost and just honestly are more practical. Like, one of the good things about an archer pull-up is that although that other arm isn't really pulling at all because it's, on the bar, you're still getting an added stability factor from it. So you could push your lats and arm a lot harder with this than you could with this more than likely. This is just a brownie point exercise in my opinion. Like, I do one-arm pull-ups on social media when I want likes, to be honest with you, or I want engagement. Like, okay, I'm going to do this one-arm pull-up with my Timbs on. Tons of views. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And last, but certainly not least, is the ring pull-up. The ring pull-up is going to be, in my opinion, it's on the cusp of S tier. The reason why I don't put it in S tier is because of this, right? So it's just going to have a little bit of barrier of entry to it. So none of these exercises have a barrier of entry to them. So like if you can do a pull-up, you can more than likely do a chin-up. If you can do a pull-up, you for damn sure can do lat pull-downs and all these chest-supported rows. Ring pull-ups are going to require you to have some prerequisite strength in a pull-up fashion just because they're harder than regular pull-ups on the bar. It's not as stable. It's just way harder. So this is what I like to call, and this is one more tidbit that I'm going to leave for you newer guys that have made it to the end of the video. This is what we call a self-limiting variation. So a self-limiting variation is just something that you impose a limit on yourself to make the movement harder so that when you train the lift that you're trying to increase, it's easier. Ring pull-ups are that for pull-ups, right? So say if you can do, you're a stud and you can do a weighted pull-up with 135 pounds and you're a reasonable body weight, like 170, 180 pounds. That's pretty strong. You're going to do like 90 pounds on a ring pull-up. So just imagine if you got your ring pull-up to 130 pounds. It's kind of that thing. Two distinct benefits with that, though. First is the self-limiting thing that I talked about. Another reason why that is good is that if you want to use something that doesn't beat your body up as much, this has a high stimulus to fatigue ratio. Remember we talked about that a little bit earlier? This is going to let you get more out of less weight. So more stimulus, less fatigue means you can do more exercises throughout the week. So this has been the weighted pull-up tier list. I hope y'all found value in this. If you have any questions about this or any exercises that you want my opinion on, just go ahead and leave them down below. I'm going to answer each one of them. And then, after a few days or weeks or whatever, I'll compile a list of the addendums in a pinned comment. Like I said, check out that final the final answer to building a large back in my final answer playlist. That's going to allow you to do different things to emphasize different parts of your back. That's going to be a great secondary watch to this video. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day.